Hello and welcome back to Kevin Can't Play Today, the game show where everybody loses. I'm your host Kevin. Today we're not doing our normal documentary as it is April Fools. So we are going to be playing around with some of the most ridiculous looking and acting aircraft in War Thunder. Um, to start us off, we have the Farman F 222, uh, which is a ridiculous looking French plane, one of many. Um, it's got two pusher puller engines on each side, um, and a almost Victorian esque front end with a huge, almost house size, apartment sized place for the bombardier up front. Um Also, the nice cupola up there for the front gun. And also, just a massive cockpit with plenty of space and visibility. It does have a couple of machine guns. Let's go to customization. We can kind of take a better look. Um, yeah, no armor. So yeah, there's the engines in the front and back. Got the big cockpit, and yeah, the gunner slash bombardier actually stood up in this huge glass enclosed area. I believe that's a yep, 7.5 millimeter, and there's also two 7.5 millimeter guns back here, um, and the dorsal and ventral turrets. That had to have been not a comfortable turret to be sitting in for the gunner. Um, there was an updated version of it too that we'll take a look at. I don't have it unlocked yet, but we'll take a preview look at it. With a little bit better engines and some better guns. Still had the 7.5 in the front, but it had two 20 millimeters in the dorsal and ventral. Two very long and a little bit more comfortable seat for the gunner, even though it looks absolutely ridiculous there. So, yeah, but we'll play around a little bit with the F222 here. Jump in. Um, let's see. Let's get some better bombs. So yeah, 7 100 kilo and 10 200 kilo is the max loadout for this plane. Uh, it first flew in on the 26th of May in 1932 and was produced from 1935 through to 1938, and there were a few still being used when at the outset of World War II. Oh, yep, no flaps. Got it. Alright, let's take off. The Farman F220 series and its derivatives were thick-sectioned, high-winged, four-engine monoplanes from Farman Aviation Works, based on the push-pull configuration, proven by the F211. Design started in August of 1925, and the first flight of the prototype was on the 26th of May 1932. The definitive F222 variant was the biggest bomber to serve in France between the world wars, and one variant was designed as an airliner. Now, this thing is very slow and cumbersome. Once it gets up to speed, though, it's not too terrible slow. It takes forever to get up to any sort of speed, especially under full load. Over these bombing targets here. Hey, we actually killed the tank, surprisingly. And the truck. So not a bad bombing run there. Unfortunately, the France test field doesn't have any good bridges to fly under, which is kind of sad and disappointing. But yeah, so it's the F-222 with its kind of ridiculous and very old style of construction. Very boxy, very ugly, and not terribly useful either. So yeah, let's bail out. Whee! Alright, and we have another French plane to look at. I mean, I think most French design planes are silly looking, but like, yeah, go take a look at the D501, which also still was in service when World War II started. But yeah, I mean, that's a silly plane. But it's a good plane, so it doesn't quite count on our list today. The other one's a premium that we'll be taking a look at. And this one is goofy. This is the SNCASO SO 8000 Narval. Yeah, it's pretty silly. Well, let's show you its features. So it was actually pretty heavily armed with 6 20mm cannons. Almost a ridiculous amount of cannons, and it's got a pusher engine, 12-cylinder inline with twin counter-rotating props, and it looks more like a fighter jet of its time than a prop plane. But yeah, let's jump in there, and let's throw some bombs on. Can do 2,000 pounders, so yeah, we'll do that. The Narval was a French naval fighter aircraft designed by Sud-Ouest in the late 1940s. Only 2 prototypes were constructed, and the type never quite entered production. The first flight was on the 1st of April, appropriately, 1949. So it's almost like it was France's own April Fool's Day joke, with its silly look and design. Pull the gear up. This one at load also takes a minute to get up to any sort of decent altitude. But yeah, it's a goofy looking plane. Just goofy looking. Alright. Let's try and get some airspeed. All in all, though, for design of its type, though its turn radius isn't all that great, it's actually a fairly agile and maneuverable plane. I don't know what the hell they were thinking about making it a naval plane, though, because it's how you would actually land it on a carrier. There's no integration for tail hooks at all, so they'd be doing just, I don't know how they would actually land it. At least effectively on a carrier deck. Also, like I said, its turning radius leaves a bit to be desired. I actually damaged the, caught the truck on fire with that one of those 1,000-pounders. Yeah, yeah. I mean, its roll is really nice. Its climb is good. It's got a good dive characteristic. But all in all, it's just a silly ass aircraft. But it's kind of nice to fly. We're gonna play around just a little bit more with it. But yeah, mainly it was pretty much completely already obsolete when they were building it. Jets were a thing at that point. It was just kind of unnecessary. Let's see if we can fly through here. Nope, there's a back wall. I surrender. Alright, well. So yeah, that's it for the SO 8000. Yeah, I don't know what they were thinking with that thing. Seriously, I mean, how do you land that on a carrier deck? How? I mean, unless you gotta be going super slow and facing into the wind. Then with those long booms, just the chance for disaster is way too high. Anyway, that's it for the French planes. I don't think we actually have any Italians. The Italians actually made really good planes. Nothing too ridiculous. Do a quick special mention here in the Japanese, as I don't have it unlocked, but we can take a look at it. This is the J7 W1, which I wish I could play with. Man, this plane's neat looking, but it's kind of an odd design and really high landing gear. Let's look at the guns here, because they're pretty ridiculous. I think they're all 30 millimeter. Yeah, they're all 30 millimeter. This one was designed as an interceptor, especially to go up against our Stratofortresses on short notice. Didn't really get much production, but we will be flying in kind of the American version of it. It's kind of an honorable mention there, even though it's a pretty sweet plane. It's a little on the ridiculous side. And then we go to Britain, which has no shortage of bizarre planes. We'll be focusing on two in particular. The Sunderland, the short Sunderland, which I find to be pretty ridiculous looking, even though it's not horrible for a flying boat, but it's just got some really odd design features. All the guns are 7.7 or 30 calibers. It's got 4 fixed bow guns here on the nose, which is just strange for a plane of its type. I mean, it's not like you're really going to be strafing much in this. Also, it's where the bombs come out are these little doors here, and they're actually rolled out to the end and then dropped, which is just weird. But yeah, let's fly it. I think this is our max loadout. Yeah, 4 500-pound bombs. Pretty light loadout too. It is not one of my favorite bombers. Getting the stats on it maxed out was just a pain. Took forever. Critical speed, no crap. Let's see if we can take off without crashing into that destroyer. Looks like we actually did it. Now we actually gotta get some altitude. The plane's also pretty unwieldy, pretty awkward in the air. Much prefer a PBY Catalina. It is one of the rare earlier war British planes to have combat flap setting, which is kind of nice, helps with the turning radius quite a bit. It actually has a pretty decent turning radius. But it's otherwise mostly just awkward. Some bombers passing by us. That one's the tank in the gully. We'll be mostly doing low altitude drops here. I want to get up to a decent altitude to actually do realistic bomb runs. And in fact, this plane would have made some very low level bomb runs on like, say, submarines. Hey, we actually killed the tank. Now let's see if we can get rid of that truck. So like I said, its turning radius for a plane of its size and type is actually pretty good. It's pretty agile in that regard. I think we missed it. However, getting it to actually its lateral to get on target is isn't that great. Where's that truck over there? It is. So for strafing, like so, it's doable, but it's just unwieldy. It's uncomfortable. Otherwise, it's actually quite a pleasant plane. But it is slow, it's cumbersome. Its defensive armament isn't great. I mean, to the rear it's actually pretty nice, because you got the ventral gunner, oh no, this one doesn't have the ventral gunner. Does have the dorsal gunner with twin 30 cals, and a tail gunner with 4 30 cals. The front's not horrible with the twin 30 cals and the bow turret, but the fixed mounted bow guns are kind of ridiculous. Maybe I'm just talking too much crap about this plane. It's not that horrible. I just don't like how slow it is. Land next to this ship. It's funny as saying I'm at stall speed. You know I'm landed. But yeah, so that's the Sunderland. Definitely not my favorite of the seaplanes. I much prefer. I think my favorite's probably the PBY Catalina, uh, the American one. No, it's kind of ridiculous looking too. We might cover that one. Yeah, at least just for a second, because it is kind of ridiculous. Even if I do like it. Now the other one we have is a premium one. So one you have to kind of pay for. But it's also kind of whoa, hi, Merry Christmas. Yeah, this is the Westland Wyvern, which is also I think a rather ridiculous plane. Um, yeah, it's kind of silly. It's also got the twin counter-rotating propellers like the Narval. It's hunchback design with the cockpit the way it is, the twin turbofan exhausts. It's kind of silly. Uh, yeah, it looks goofy. Yeah, let's see what it's got. So yeah, it's actually got 420 millimeter machine guns in the front and can carry a respectable bomb load for a fighter bomber. So let's throw in there and give it its 3,000 pound bombs and yeah, roll it out. The plane was first flown on the 16th of December 1946. It was produced from 1946 to 1956, so it actually had a decently long lifespan for a plane that was relatively obsolete. It was officially introduced in 1953 and retired in 1958. It's a single-seat carrier-based multi-role strike aircraft built by Westland Aircraft that served in the 1950s, seeing active service in the 1956 Suez Crisis. Production Wyverns were powered by a turboprop engine, driving large and distinctive contra-rotating propellers, and could actually carry torpedoes as well. And you can see the exhaust for those big old turbofans right there. The interesting thing is, I believe this is also a dive bomber. Get a little bit of altitude here before we drop on target. Do a more or less conventional dive bomb. Yep, we do have air brakes. Just gotta find the damn target. Not finding the target. Oh, there it is. Got it. Oh, we had an extra bomb. The plane itself isn't bad at all. It really isn't. Just kind of goofy. Yeah, caught it on fire. Again, like the Narval, though, it has a little bit to be desired in turning radius. It burned down. Alright. Try and see if we can land this thing on a carrier? Let's do that. Let's go land on a carrier. And probably fail. But that's always fun. Yeah, so this thing had a surprisingly long lifespan. It was actually pretty quick for a, pretty fast for a prop plane of its time. We're still going way too fast. Nice thing is this does have air brakes. Burn out these guns. Yeah, we're going to need those air brakes because we are still going way too fast. Interesting design on the air brakes too. I haven't ever really noticed that. Alright, drop gear now. Poorly lined up. Just coming in a little. Oh, hey, that was actually a pretty damn good landing if I don't say so myself. Alright, well that was the Wyvern. Not a bad little plane, but just still kind of goofy. You know, especially being a post-World War II plane. Actually, post-Korea even. So, let's see what we have next. Again, the Russians, even though they had some interesting planes, they weren't bad. None of them were bad. I mean, the Ak-2 cab was kind of goofy. But it was also pretty effective with 420 millimeters. So it doesn't quite fit the theme today. So let's go to Germany. There were some goofy designs in Germany. Yeah, we'll start with this one. Yeah, the Blohm & Voss BV-238. One of the biggest, actually it was the biggest plane Germany produced in World War II. Let me show you its features. Not much in the way of armor, but this is what we were going to. So, for turrets, it is like a porcupine. It has 4 13mm cannons here in the back turret. And this is silly. 4 13mm cannons in each of these little wing back turret thingies that are kind of ridiculous. It's got 2 20mm up here in the dorsal turret, and another 4 13mm guns in this weird hangy offy nose turret. But yeah, it's an interesting plane. It does have these stabilizers here, which were very lightweight. They actually did have cells in them for lighter than air helium to give it some stabilization on landing and takeoff, and they could be actually folded up into the wing. This thing you could actually drive a car into very carefully. They could actually load Kubelwagens into it. But yeah, all in all, it's a damn goofy plane. Yeah, let's have fun with it. Let's get, oh, I guess 250-pound bombs are the best we got, but we got 20 of them, so that's not bad. Yeah. The Blohm Voss BV 238 was a German flying boat built during World War II. It was the heaviest aircraft ever built when it first flew in 1944, and was the largest aircraft produced by any of the Axis powers during World War II. Oh, we're already flying. Holy crap. Apparently they didn't think we could take off. We don't really have any targets, though, unfortunately. I got that ship out there. It's friendly. But this thing is frickin' huge. Just massive. Yeah, it first flew in April of 1944, and only one was built. There was 2 other incomplete prototypes. Oh, yeah, I guess that is a bombing target. Do we have a bomb site? Yeah, we actually have a bomb site. Alright, we're not going to use it though. Let's do a low-level bombing. Yeah, the weight was just insane. With a total weight of 220,000 pounds fully loaded. It had 6 1,750 horsepower Daimler-Benz engines. That was another interesting thing. All the bombs were in little tiny mini bomb bays in the wings. Let's try and land this sucker. You know, the other time I've flown this thing, it was pretty, took a long ways to actually stop. We do have landing flaps, alright, that'll help us. Nope, nope, they're not helping us. They're making our nose point up. We don't want to do that. Not yet, anyway. Alright, let's see if we can stop this big, massive behemoth. I actually slowed down pretty good now. Forgot to hit C before I changed perspective there. Yeah, so there's this massive Leviathan. I don't know how we got damaged. Actually, before we go, let's check out these gun pods. So if you're coming in from the rear and above, yeah, you're in some real trouble. Even the bow's not too bad there. Those 20 mils really make a difference. Yeah, I mean, that's a lot of fire. That's just a ridiculous amount of fire. Alright, well that's enough of the BV. Do kind of want to buy one at some point. Probably pretty soon. Just because it's ridiculous. I like ridiculous crap like that. Alright. So there's that one. Where's the next one? There it is, the TA-154A1. Yeah, here it is. Now you would actually think that this looks more like a more modern, like 1980s, early 90s Prowler U.S. Navy jet, but nope, yeah, it's a fighter. It was originally meant to be a 2-seater. It's got two 20mm cannons and two 30mm cannons. It's designed by the aptly named Kurt Tank. So yeah, let's go have some fun with it. I don't like the lack of rear visibility in it, though, due to how it's set up. It's also called the Mosquito, not surprisingly. Yeah, you can kind of see where the back seat had been removed on this one. Yeah, there it is. But yeah, it's kind of a silly design. Let's get moving. The Focke-Wulf TA-154 Mosquito was a fast twin-engine German night fighter aircraft designed by Kurt Tank. And produced by Focke-Wulf during late World War II. Only a few were produced, proving to have less impressive performance than the prototypes did. But it first flew on the 1st of July in 1943. Let's see if I can find out how many were produced. Doesn't really say here, without me really digging into it. Let's go on some straight runs, shall we? I don't think a 30mm is going to really do anything. Yeah, I got some hits, but which all bounced off. This would be great for anti-bomber, though. I mean, it handles pretty nicely. Let's go play with some bridges, shall we? Its roll characteristics are good, its turning radius is good, it's relatively fast, heavily armed. I mean, it would take a bomber out pretty quick. I mean, lucky for us that there wasn't terribly many of them made. I would guess that its climb rate... Oh, crap, what happened? Hold on. We're expecting... Oh, whoa, 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 we managed to... Had just some kind of massive lag spike there. I actually lost the program for a minute. Don't know if he even caught anything, but... I completely lost control of the game for a minute. Let's see if we can fly in between the struts here. Probably too big for this. Whoa, man, we barely squeaked that out. Yeah. Anyway, so yeah, that's the Mosquito, the TA-153, another premium plane, so not going to be covering in the main series. Again, like design-wise, I just really don't like the cockpit, how the cockpit's laid out. It has zero, you know, look-back ability. Let's jump out. And go to our next plane. This time we have a, it's another premium. But you can actually fly this one in. There's one. Sorry, one variant of it that is, able to be accessed for free once you get that far. But since we haven't, and there's a premium one here, we can have fun with it here. And this is the Dornier DO 335 German interceptor. It's also got the pusher puller configuration, which actually made it really quick, and its ascension is really nice. Let's go to the X-ray view. Got the one engine in the back, one engine in the front. It's got two 20 millimeters in the nose here and two 30 millimeters in the wings. This was a response to Allied high-level bombing and trying to get a plane up there that could get to them. But it's still kind of odd looking, especially with that, like, almost everything's the same tail in 4 different directions. Also makes taking off a little tricky. You don't get a massive tail strike. Now let's roll into a test flight. Oh, this one can't carry bombs. Yeah, sure. Let's throw them on. This one was first introduced in first flight. It was the 26th of October, 1943. And it was introduced in 1944 and retired at the end of the war in 1945. Go on, take off. There we go. With this load of bombs, it doesn't like climbing as well. The DO 335 file, or Arrow, was a World War II heavy fighter built by the Dornier Company. The 2-seater trainer version was called Anteater, or a Meisenbar. The file's performance was much better than other twin-engine designs due to its unique push-pull configuration. And the lower aerodynamic drag of the inline alignment of the 2 engines. It was Nazi Germany's fastest piston-engined aircraft of World War II. The Luftwaffe was desperate to get the design into operational use, but delays in engine deliveries meant that only a handful were delivered before the war ended. There was a total of 37 produced between 1944 and 1945. Hit it. Where's the last bomb? Did it have an internal bomb bay that I'm not aware of? It must have. It still says we have 1 bomb. Though I'm not seeing it. I don't know where that came from, but we killed that tank. Was not really designed for ground attack. Well, that took out that truck pretty quick. 30mm machine guns will do that. Well, let's go play with bridges. Coming in at a pretty stable angle here. Whew. Yeah, I didn't think we were going to make that one. Looks like one of our 20 mils jammed. Both our twin mills are jammed. Flurries are still going. Oh, they're out of ammo. Alright, let's go play with this bridge. Whew. Almost nicked our wing there. Let's try something else. Something we haven't done before. I need a pretty good run up on it. This will probably not work at all. Yep, nope, hit a tree. Alright, well, that was fun. Yeah, that's the DO 335, another just very oddball plane that you can play in War Thunder. I think we have one more German plane for just kind of an honorable mention because I can't test fly it yet. I haven't unlocked far enough down. But it's a neat one. Yeah, we also have this oddball. Preview it real quick. The Heinkel 162, just a massive jet engine piggybacked on top of it. It kind of looks like a retarded A-10 Warthog. Where are the graphics just running crap right now? Yeah, there's that one. And here's the honorable mention. The HO 229 V3. This actually did fly on the 1st of March in 1944. 3 of them were built. Has 2 30mm machine guns. And those jet engines got that very unique flying wing design. I mean, it looks like something out of science fiction. It looks like a damn UFO, not a German fighter. But yeah, I mean, this thing actually existed and still does exist. There is one remaining, and it is currently being restored to airworthiness at the Smithsonian Air and Space Museum. Let me see if I can find any updates on it, see when it's might be finished. But kind of the design of it was to kind of early way to defeat radar, which was actually very good at. Let's see. As of early last year, it's been moved to display. So I don't know if it'll ever actually see flight again. It's kind of sad. But yeah, you can go to the Smithsonian and see it. I wish we could test fly it, but we can't. Let me, hold on just a second. Make sure we're actually still filming. Yep, we're still filming. Alright. Just with that, with those graphic issues and such. Alright, and over the Americans, who do have their own fair share of just really bizarre aircraft. Most of these are planes, premium planes that you have to pay for, but they're still neat. This one's one I want. Ah, man, why are the graphics just crap right now? Not showing up at all. Anyway, this is the Curtiss-Wright XP-55 Ascender, which is a pretty interesting design plane, very similar to that Japanese plane there. let's show its features there. So yeah, the pilot sat there, had a big old fuel tank right behind him, and the engine behind that, which was an Allison 12-cylinder. It had two 50 calibers in the nose and another two 20 millimeters. It looks like it was designed to have an additional, like, you know, two other guns in the front, as we can kind of see here with those divots, but I don't think those were ever even attempted. But yeah, it's a very interesting design. Its rudders are actually here in these little winglets things there, and you have your, instead of the tail on the back, you have the canards in the front. But yeah, let's throw in here. This one was also meant to be an interceptor. It first flew on the 19th of July, 1943. Three of them were built. Yeah, it's a neat looking plane. I wish the graphics were loading in. I don't know what's going on with that. Now let's get her up in the air. And let it climb a little bit while we read up on it. The Curtiss-Wright XP-55 Ascender is a 1940s United States prototype fighter aircraft built by Curtiss-Wright, along with the Vultee XP-54 and the Northrop XP-56. It resulted from the U.S. Army Air Corps proposal R-40C, issued on 27th of November 1939. For aircraft with improved performance, armament, and pilot visibility over existing fighters. It specifically allowed for unconventional aircraft designs. Highly unusual design for its time. It had a canard configuration, rear-mounted engine, swept wings, and two vertical tails. Because of its pusher design, it was sarcastically referred to as the ass ender. Like the XP-54, the Ascender was initially designed for a Pratt & Whitney X1800 engine, and had to be redesigned when that engine project was cancelled. Boom. Boom shakalaka. Yep, so that one's done. It was also the first Curtiss fighter to use the tricycle landing gear configuration. Yeah, this thing's actually just quite pleasant to fly. Very responsive, very maneuverable. You know, capable of some great aerobatics. Despite its very odd design, it's actually quite pleasant to fly. Now let's go play with the bridge. Oh, oops, I guess we're not playing with the bridge. I misjudged that a little bit. Alright. Let's go again. This thing's just a lot of fun to fly, and I do want to play with those bridges. I also had a very short takeoff area that needed. You can get it off the ground pretty damn quick. And its climbability is also very impressive. Hence the name Ascender. It's just an elegant design too. Except for kind of the top-bottom fins. It's just a pretty design. Very compact. And having actually faced a few of these in game, whoa, 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 what was that? They're, yeah, they're pretty hard to hit. Their profile is pretty small. Anyway, yeah, so that's the Ascender. I like it. I want to buy it. It is on my, probably top on my wish list of planes to actually purchase of the premiums. So yeah. Okay. Let's move on to the next one. This video is probably going to be long enough as it is. Yes. And another one that I love, but it is actually pretty ridiculous. If I can find it, there it is, the PBJ-1H. Oops, let's not do that quite yet. Or actually, yeah, no, that's fine. Let's show it off on the tarmac. But yeah, this one's a build based off the B-25 design. B-25 being one of the coolest light bombers and best light bombers we had. This thing is pretty silly. This version, I mean, it has a standard tail gun with the twin 50s, the dorsal gun, the two waist guns, but here's where the front part gets funny. I mean, the normal B-25 has the four 50 calibers mounted just behind and below the cockpit, as you see there, right in front of the engine. But this one, instead of having the nose gunner, had removed that altogether and put in its place 450 caliber machine guns and a 75mm howitzer. Just to show you how freaking powerful that thing is, we're going to fire it on the tarmac and watch what happens. Alright, no brakes. So yeah, it pushes the whole damn plane back. You do it enough times, it'll actually turn the plane as it's based off the center line. It'll actually slowly turn the plane to the left. Now let it rearm here and actually take off in this thing. The nice thing, and one of the other nice parts about this plane was it was also able to carry 4 500-pound bombs. So a much lighter bomb load than its standard bomber counterparts, but still, still pretty respectable. If it'll ever take off. There we go. Get some altitude. But its primary function was as basically air artillery. The Navy and Marine Corps used it to get some artillery strikes in where artillery would not normally be available. Like if they were, shore guns that were just too powerful for the Navy to get any ships in close enough for bombardment, they would send in fast strikes of these guys to go in and just blow everything up. It was very effective in that role. Put bombs on it? Dang it. Let me put bombs on it. Nah, I missed. Yeah, no, it's got bombs. What the hell? Where's my bomb reticle? I have to do it the old-fashioned way. There we go. Got the half track. For a plane of its size and type, it's pretty maneuverable. Also considering that it has, you know, 75mm freaking howitzer in it. And I gotta tell you from gameplay, man, there ain't much better bomber killer. Like one hit with that 75mm onto another bomber and it's just toast. It's just toast. Anyway, so yeah, that's the PBY. Sorry, the PBJ. Officially nicknamed the peanut butter and jelly. But it's just a fun plane to fly, like any of the B-25 derivatives. It was just an amazing aircraft. Okay, let's bail out and jump into another one. Yeah, with that 75mm gun, it's pretty excessive. Though not the most excessive. That'll be our last one. It is probably the most excessive American plane. Next we'll have the XP-50. Another premium, but that's fine. Ah man, the graphics look like crap right now, I don't know why. Well, I probably have to restart the game, but I don't want to do that until after the video's over. So yeah, let's take a look at the XP-50. Made by Grumman. It's kind of a goofy, well, not even kinda, it's a very goofy looking plane. Let me show you its features. It's got 220mm in the nose and another two 50 calibers mounted up and behind them in kind of an odd configuration. The pilot was very seated very high up there, very reminiscent of the British Wyvern we looked at earlier. However, this has more conventional twin radials as opposed to the counter-rotating. It's got a cool looking tail end, and yeah, let's go fly it a bit. No bomb capability at all, but wasn't really meant for that. Its first flew on the 18th of February 1941. The Grumman XP-50 was a land-based development of the shipboard XF-5F Skyrocket fighter, and it was entered into a United States Army Air Corps contest for a twin-engine heavy interceptor aircraft. The USAAC placed an order for a prototype on the 25th of November 1939, designating it the XP-50, but it lost the competition to the Lockheed XP-49. There was only one built, sadly, as it's kind of a neat airplane. Kind of fun to fly too. Got pretty good maneuverability, especially for a twin engine. They're smart placing the twin engines pretty close together. And just like that, it's done. We're not going to be able to take out that tank, but let's go have fun with the bridge. Yeah, it's a fun plane to fly. I mean, I actually like it. It's got Not the best roll characteristic. Um, but again, for a twin-engine fighter, it's pretty fast, pretty maneuverable. Not a bad design at all. Oh, dang it. Oh well. God, the hitbox on that must be the hitbox on that tower must be a little or fuel tower must be a little off. Yeah, that's enough of that. Yeah, that was the XP50. Another fun plane though. But now we'll get to probably one of the most ridiculous of them all. One that should have been called the American Mosquito. There it is. Yeah, the Beechcraft XA-38 Grizzly. Like I said, it looks more like a mosquito than Grizzly, but yeah, this one's pretty interesting. Let me show you its features. X-ray, there we go. So, chief and foremost of the nose is again, a 75mm M10 cannon. It's also got two 50 caliber machine guns down there, and a odd remote turret with another two 50 calibers up there, fired by the gunner that's sitting well behind it right there. So yeah, this is an interesting plane. And pretty fun, but pretty ridiculous. I mean, that 75mm cannon on a fighter frame is a little excessive. Let's give it some bombs. Can carry up to 400 or 500 pounders. Yeah, so it's manufactured by Beechcraft. It first flew on the 7th of May 1944, but was subsequently canceled. There were two of them built. And the Grizzly was a World War II era ground attack aircraft, developed by Beechcraft but never put into production. The Grizzly was to have been fitted with a forward-firing 75mm cannon to penetrate heavy armored targets. While the first prototype flew on the 7th of May 1944, testing established that the type would not be ready for the projected invasion of Japan. It also featured the Wright R3350 engines already in use with the Boeing Super Fortress, which had a priority. So consequently, the XA-38 was canceled after a second prototype had been completed. And you can see it's got the 4 bombs all mounted on hardpoints. Oh, I forgot. Yeah, this actually had another turret down below. Also controlled by the same gunner. You know, pretty freaking cool design if you ask me. And whatever it is. Let's have fun with it, shall we? Let's go blow some stuff up. Didn't kill it. See if the more M-board mounted ones will. I think we missed. Nope, we got it. Alright. Let's go after that half track now. There it is. Boom! Hit it with some HE. as we're flying over this way, I want you to watch the airspeed as I fire this thing off. Actually slows us down considerably. Oh, damn. Oh well. Yeah, the Grizzly is actually a pretty cool plane. Kind of sad that it didn't see production, but that late in the war, it was a little unnecessary. If the design had been completed a little sooner, and had it not had the lack of available engines, it probably would have been a very effective and pretty damn awesome plane. Alright, some fun with bridges. Whoa, that was close. Yeah, anyway, so that's the XA-38 Grizzly. One of the most ridiculous planes, but also a lot of fun. Tally ho! Alright, well thanks for joining me with some ridiculous, silly, and over-the-top aircraft that you are able to fly in War Thunder, and a little bit of detail on them. These are all planes that I probably will never put out a full episode on, so because most of them were either prototypes or not very not very popular, or ones that I don't really like. But yeah, hope you had fun, and we'll see you next time. Next week we will have a video out on the Russian I-16 fighter, and until then, we'll see y'all later.